Now, the context of this episode is going to be on an allegedly just technical issue, which, as we're going to see, he gets grievously wrong. And the question then becomes, all right, he clearly is wrong. There's no debating he's wrong. On this issue, he is completely wrong. But then how do we assess what this means that he is wrong? I'll let him speak for himself, and then I'll chime in.
To the technical issues. During this scene, we get what honestly seems to be some ADR with a strong purpose. ADR stands for automatic dialogue replacement, and it means that the actors are brought in to record lines that get layered on top of finished scenes to make corrections or add new content in. You could have a bad take without realizing it on set, or you could have forgotten to include a piece of exposition from the script. The biggest tells for this are that the audio quality is very obviously different, and oftentimes the lip sync will be out, or characters will not be facing the screen in order to hide it. For example,
the First Order wants the map. Finn is with the Resistance. I'm just a scavenger.
Let's see that one more time.
The First Order wants the map. Finn is with the Resistance. I'm just a scavenger.
The Force Awakens employs this technique more so than I've noticed in any of the other films in the saga.
Alright, let me begin generously that I too, yes, I too at one point did not know what ADR meant. And there's an interesting kind of anecdote behind it. I'll make it very quick. This was during the time that Gone Girl was released. A couple years ago, I really needed money, so I was going to plan to do a Fincher book and just pump it out there, again for money. I admit it, just put something out there. But I wanted to do due diligence and did research on him, and the film had just been released, so I looked up a lot of interviews with Rosamund Pike. And she did one particular interview, which was very, very long. I'm trying to remember, it's like 30, 40 minutes. I listened to it a couple of times. I actually learned a lot from it. And probably the second, third, fourth time I listened to it, she mentioned ADR, and I was sort of puzzled, like, what is she talking about? And I, was curious, and I looked it up, and I said, oh, ADR, okay. Now, mind you, I had already read dozens and dozens and dozens of articles and books on film history, film genre, etc., etc. I still didn't know what ADR meant, despite all that research. So yes, I have to be humble and say, yes, you could do a lot of research, a lot of writing on film, and you're still going to not know basic terms of how filmmaking really is done in the real world. Okay, that's my confession. Now let's get to Mauler. So what does he call it? Automatic dialogue replacement. What is it really? ADR is not that. ADR is just additional dialogue recording. But as he says throughout that little clip, he seems to think that ADR is about fixing mistakes. No, it's not. ADR, as far as I understand it, is neutral. It does not have any purpose that he's assigning to it. It is not necessarily there to, quote, cure mistakes or fix up things in a script. It's just additional recording. That's all it is. As to why didn't they do the recording while they did the film, that gets into very technical aspects of how sound is captured on film. And apparently he doesn't seem to realize this. It's really, really hard to capture sound in film, whether it's dialogue or other kinds of sound, because it's incredibly hard to capture sound, period. Because again, like he and I, we record sound often in a very ideal situation where we are in a room or in an enclosed space and isolated, and we can isolate noise and other factors. You really can't do that on sets. You really can't do that in film, especially if you're filming live in real places. It's really, really hard to record sound. Sound recording is very, very expensive, but it's not necessarily there to cure mistakes. So he clearly doesn't know what this term means, ADR. Now, you have to think about this for a while. He's been doing this how long? 6 years, and he still doesn't know basic terminology? He doesn't really seem to know Star Wars that well. He doesn't know mise en scène. He doesn't know film history. He doesn't know various genres. He doesn't know foreign film. He's never done anything on experimental or independent films either. So, I have to submit, I don't think we can call him a film critic legitimately, or much less a television critic either. So, he's not a critic in that sense. A critic does have to know a certain body of knowledge. Now, I'm not saying it's a necessity. I'm going to be very careful here. I'm not saying a film critic has to know the technical aspects of filmmaking. You can be a very great film critic, even if you don't know the techniques. However, being that kind of critic, you are going to have to show us a lot of excellence in other places. And I have to submit, he doesn't, whether it's writing, performance, mise en scène, or other things, he doesn't really bring much to the table. It just seems to be a guy saying a few jokes, and he shows clips of Luke drinking blue milk. That's basically his thing. So I think, being the most generous person possible, we have a label for this, but it's not film critic. It's not critic at all. It's media commentator. He's just a commentator. That's all he is. So if we have to label him something, it's he's trying to do commentary on different kinds of media, whether television or film. But in terms of film criticism, he doesn't have any. I just don't think he really has the knowledge or the aptitude or the taste to do that kind of thing. And again, he's putting himself out there as an objective, knowledgeable person, so he clearly doesn't have this objective knowledge. So we've got a straightforward logical contradiction. Either you do have this objective knowledge, or you don't have this objective knowledge. He doesn't, but he still says he does. So what is it? What is he doing? It seems he's just doing very subjective commentaries from a very flawed knowledge base and a very skewed understanding even of Star Wars or genre films. But I'm sure I'm going to get some pushback even on this, even when he's exposed himself as a complete buffoon on this issue. Which he doesn't just spend a little time on, he spends quite a few minutes, as he does on most subjects, even if he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Alright, so this has been Star Wars Analyzed on Callum's, I'll just say, quixotic remarks on sound and film. Alright, if you like the content, please hit the like button and or subscribe. Star Wars Analyzed. Thank you for listening. Please be safe.